So I had it hard, man. Let's, just to be 100, I had it hard. Listen, I don't regret anything. And I love everyone and everything that made me who I am today. But I had it hard, you know. I was born to parents who were young. I think my mother was 17 at the time. And my father, my father was a street cat. He loved to run the streets. Both of them drug addicts at the time. I mean, I can remember times where I would actually see crack cocaine in our apartment. I remember my mother, I don't know if my mother ever meant us to see it, but I seen it. I grew up in the hood, Boston, Massachusetts, Roxbury. Poor. And hard. By the time, before I even thought about doing what I did, the armed robberies I did to go to prison, that was at 16. But before I even thought about that, I have seen drugs. I've been offered drugs. I've seen abuse. I've seen pimping. I've seen it all. Run the gamut. I mean, all the hood horror stories, I've seen them. I remember a time where I don't even remember how old I was. I just remember this so vividly. I remember a time where a guy jumped out of his car, was going to shoot my father right in front of me. I had to be about 7, 8. Normally, I think at that time my mother moved us out of Arizona. We left Arizona. We left Boston because, she was getting beat up by a guy. Not my father or my sister's father, by another guy that she was dating and doing crack with. And she was getting beat up pretty bad by that guy. Irons. Anything he could find, he could pick up, he would beat the shit out of my mother with. And, my father, my uncles, they threatened the guy, and he wouldn't come around anymore, but he would, break our windows, destroy everything we had when we wasn't around. He wouldn't come around physically while we were there. He was scared. But, he would cause damage either way. Right? So we fled. We fled to Arizona. And, which, looking back on it, how sometimes you look back on your life, you think, was this good or bad? Like, was this a good thing or a bad thing? And the best I can say is, I really don't know. It's probably a good thing that we fled there. That my mother moved us out here. I didn't fully understand why, I knew what was going on, but I didn't know why we was leaving Boston. But, we did. We left, and looking back, I think it was the best move. To move me from Boston, not just her. Like she took her kids. She loved us. My mother loved us. She made her mistakes, but God damn it, that woman loved us, and she did her best. But we fled, moved to Phoenix, and took us away from everything I knew for good reason. But she was getting beat up, right? I've been offered, I've seen it all before I did the armed robberies to go to prison at 16 for 18 years. Sometimes I look back and I think, like, where else was I supposed to go? You know, like, what, you know, either way, I was headed to prison. Either way, I don't, as I look back, I don't really see a way out of my, I wasn't in school. I was working, but I wasn't in school. Anyhow, so I do the armed robberies, and I remember, I just remember that first night was crazy, man. That first night, I didn't fully understand how much trouble I was in. I was more afraid of my mother finding out when I got locked up than I was actually, like, what was gonna happen to me in the legal system, And I don't ever claim to be a victim, like, I did what I did and I got caught and I did my time for what I did. And that was my choice. So, I'm no victim in that sense. I'm no victim.